Basically, I want to leave y'all with a question. I want to ask you a question. What are you going to do with what God has already given you? Yes, we know it's the new resolutions, as you should say, new goals, new ideas, new starts, new this and new that. But let's take it back. Let's take it back some. What are we going to do with what God has already given us? How are we going to make that become new in our life? How are we going to make that become something great in our life? God has given a lot of us ideas on last year before last. God has given all of us steps to take, or God has given all of us goals. God has given all of us just business plans, or things like ministries to start and everything. God has given us ideas, but did we go forth? Did we go forth in those things that God has already given us? See, a lot of times we mess up in trying to start something new when we haven't even finished the thing that God has given us before. God will not place nothing inside of you for you not to fulfill it, for you not to start it, for you not to go forth and take that first step in doing it. Allow that what God has given you before become the new in your life. Allow that what God has given you in the past. Yes, you may say, well, I don't want to do it. Or that's old. That's old news. But what I'm telling you, if God has given it to you and you have not yet even started it, it's not old, baby. It's not old. It's still something within you that needs to be birthed out. And it needs to become new in your life. It needs to become new in someone else's life. I always say what God gives me is not for me all the time. It's not always for me. 9 times out of 10, it's for somebody else. It's for somebody else. When God places ideas or things in my mind, it's for somebody else. So I ask you again, what are you going to do with what God has already given you? Are you going to sit and let it die out? Are you going to sit and let it just become dust? Are you going to sit and let it dry up? Or are you going to make it become new in your life? Are you going to make it become that new expectation that you are expecting God to do? He has already given it to you. It's sitting right there. A lot of times we're expecting something else when God's like, what you need is right there. I've already given you what you need. All you got to do is grasp hold onto that. Step out on faith and do it. A lot of times we allow be intimidated by others, or be intimidated by by how it seems, what we got. Lord, I don't have this, I don't have that. Yes, I know you placed it within me. Yes, I know you gave me this idea. Yes, I know you giving me this business plan. Yes, I know you give me. Yes, I know. But God, I don't have this. God, I don't have that. God, if you just go out and step out and take that first step. If God has given it to you, if God has given that thing to you, trust me, He will take you through it. Allow that thing that God has given you before become new in your life today. It can't become new in your life if you don't use it. It can't become new in your life if you just sit there and let it die out. It can't become new in your life if you don't go out and put it in motion. It can't become new in someone else's life that will need what God has given you if you don't go out and do it. But God, I don't know. I don't know. I can't do it. I can't do it. But God. Well, come on, Luke 8, 43 to 48. Y'all know the Bible. Luke 8, 43 to 48 tells us about the woman with the issue of blood. What did she have to bring to the Lord? She had her faith. And when she exercised her faith and stepped out and went, But the verse 48 says, thy faith have made thee whole. Go in peace. So that right there, that wholeness became new in her life. But what if she would have just sat there? What if she would have just stood still? What if she wouldn't have pushed through the crowd to get to what she needed? What if she would have just been like, oh my goodness, my pain is too much stronger than what I need to go after. I'm paining too much to get to that thing that I need to go after. What if she allowed the pain, the 12 years of her paining, to stop her from going and going after that very thing that she needed? God had already given her the faith. that God had already given it to her. But what if she wouldn't have used it? What are you going to do with what God has already given you? Are you going to sit there and let it die out? Or are you going to use your faith and go towards it and fulfill that what God has placed within you? Oh, but God, I don't know. I don't see how I can make it. I don't see how I can do this, Lord. It's so many things up against me. It's so many things that's in my way. It's so many things that it just don't look right. It just don't look right, God. How can I do this? Come on, Matthew. Hey, come on, Matthew, the 14th chapter, the 14th and through the 21st verse. Y'all know the text, y'all know the Bible. Come on now, y'all know what it says. When Jesus went forth, he saw the multitude and he was moved with compassion towards them. Okay, and then it goes on to say, I'm gonna get to the part about the y'all know that they said unto him, verse 17. We have here but 5 loaves and 2 fishes. Lord, how in the world are we going to feed this multitude with 5 loaves and 2 fishes? What are you going to do with what God has already given you? Hey, my Lord, what are you going to do? 5 loaves and 2 fishes wasn't nothing to God. Use what you got. Use what you got. And you see, God took those 5 loaves and those 2 fishes, and he fed a multitude. Even more than a multitude. Hey, what are you going to do with what God has already given you? It's right there. It's sitting right there. Waiting on you to use it. Waiting on you to go out and step out on faith. Waiting on you to stop making excuses, so that thing can become new unto you and unto others. Those 5 loaves and 2 fishes became new to that multitude because they were hungry. It became new to them and they were filled. What are you going to do with what God has already given you? Are you going to sit there and let it die out? Are you going to sit there and let it dry up? Are you going to sit there and let it just become dust and just let it be like, oh man? Are you going to sit there and let it be another, I shoulda, coulda, woulda, but I didn't? Yes, we're searching for those new things. We're searching for those new aspirations, those new dreams, those new goals, those new this and new that and new that. But God is saying, I've already given you something. Use that and make that become new in your life. Use that and make that become new in other people's lives. Use that what I've already given you. You haven't even started on what I've given you before. And you're searching for something new. Use what you got. And God will take care of the rest. Oh Lord, but what I'm going to do? What I'm going to do, Lord, I just don't know. I just can't see my way through. I don't know. This thing is too big for me. It seems like it's a giant before me. It seems like it's a mountain before me. What I'm going to do, Lord, what I'm going to do, I just don't know. I can't see my way. It seems so dark. This thing seems like it's hovering over me. It's hovering over me so bad. Well, come on, 1 Samuel 17. Y'all know the story. Y'all know know the story, hey, about David and Goliath. David didn't find no excuses. David allowed that what God had already given him to become new. Hey, he allowed that what God had already given him to become new. And not so much new to him, because David knew that he already knew, but it became new to others. So that way others can see. All David had was what? He put it in verse 49 says, and David put his hand in his bag and took hence a stone and slain it, and smote the Philistine in the forehead, that the stone stuck in his forehead, and he fell upon the face of the earth. Y'all, David used what he had, a sling and a stone, to overcome that thing that looked so big and so humongous and so huge and it seemed like it couldn't nobody take it down, couldn't nothing take it down. What are we going to do with what God has already given us? What are we going to do with that thing that God has already placed within our hands? What are we going to do with that thing that God has already birthed within us? Are we going to have a miscarriage? Hey! Are you going to have a miscarriage and be like, I don't want to do that, Lord. That seems too hard. I can't do that, Lord. You want me to do that, Lord? Are we going to let that thing sit and die? Or are we going to allow it to be born and become new? Bring newness of life. What are you going to do with what God has already given you? What are you going to do? God has already given a lot of us so many ideas, so many business plans, outlines, and the list goes on and on. So many. God has given us some of us a ministry to carry out. God has given us so much. But we sit there and we let everything that God has poured within us, we sit there and allow it to die out. We sit there and allow it to become a miscarriage in our life. We sit there and allow that thing just sit there itself and don't be used. So while you're expecting the new, yes, I know I want the new also. Don't get me wrong. Lord knows I want the new. But God has given me some things. I was talking to someone the other day about something similar to this, and I told her, I said, people are making a lot of new resolutions and new this and new that because it's a new year. It's a tradition. It's a tradition. We follow. Oh man, we got to plan for the new, plan for the new. But I told her, girl, I'm trying to finish what God has already given me before. Yes, there are some new things that He has given me, but I got to finish that what God has already given me, so that can become new in my life. We can't so much stay focused on the things that's coming before us all the time. Yes, the Bible says look for it, but sometimes we got to pull back those things. Lord, you gave me a book the start. I'll start writing, Lord, but I didn't complete it. Lord, you gave me a song to write. I started writing, Lord, but I felt intimidated. I didn't complete it. God, you told me to go back to school. I started, but I let all the financial and the other things get in my way. I let my age get in my way. So I didn't go. I didn't complete it. God has given us a lot of things to fulfill. He's looking for someone that He can trust. He's looking for someone that he can be like, yes, well done. Not wait until we get up there, but well done down here on earth. He's looking for someone that he can use to trust to fulfill that plan that he has put within us. God does not put anything within us for us not to fulfill it. He does it. Yes, sometimes it may be like God, maybe that God had planted something in someone and they pass on. But best believe, somebody somewhere is going to take on what God has planted within that person and fulfill it. So what are you going to do with what God has already given you? Are you going to sit and let it die? Or are you going to go after those things what God has already placed within you and step out on faith, like the woman with the issue of blood? Step out on faith. Move through the crowd. Move through the darkness. Move through the struggles. Move through the pain, and walk in your divine purpose. Walk in your divine purpose that God has placed within you, that God has for you. Are you going to be like David and use what you got to slay that giant, to slay whatever it feels you seem like it's too big in front of you? Or are you just going to sit there and wallow in your pain, wallow in your suffering, wallow in your oh my? Or are you going to sit there and just wallow in it? That's what the enemy wants you to do. The enemy don't want people to fulfill nothing that God placed within them. The enemy don't want to see you prosper in nothing. The enemy don't want to see you carry out nothing that God has birthed within you. But I come to let this marinate in your mind. What is that very thing that God has given you? What is that very thing that he has already given you, that you can allow that thing to become new in your life and other people's lives as well? I say again, don't get me wrong. Yes, I want the other new things too. But God has placed within me some things that I must fulfill as I go on to the journey of the other new things. I got to fulfill those other things that he has given me as well. I can't sit and let them die out. I refuse to. No matter how hard it get, no matter how trying it get, I refuse to sit what God has placed and birthed within me. I refuse to sit and let it dry up and die out. The devil is a liar. So I ask you again, and as I close, what are you going to do with what God has already given you? Are you going to sit and let it die? As we go to 1 Kings, the 17th chapter, we see that the widow woman, she told him that Elijah, all she had was a handful of meal in the barrel and a little oil. But what Elijah told her, go and use that what you have, and you will see that God will multiply that thing. Because what she said at the end, she said, for me and my son that we may eat and die. So she was ready to die, because all she saw was what she had. She didn't see nothing new. She didn't see no newness. She didn't see no newness. All she saw was what she had. But God had already given her something. God had already given her something. It was little in her eyes. And what did she bring? Y'all catch this. She brought her what? Obedience. God had already given her the substance. All she had to do was obey and do it. So what if she would have had not obeyed? She would have did what she just said. She would have had eat it and die. So what are you going to do with what God has already given you? Are you going to allow the things that's in front of you make you seem like, okay, Lord, this is what I have. This is all I got. I can't do nothing with this. Are you going to be like the widow woman? I can't do nothing with this. Or are you going to be obedient to the command that God has placed within you? Or like Elijah, God has sent Elijah to her to give her a command. Are you going to be obedient to those commands that your spiritual leaders tell you to do? And trust God and take him at his word. And get up and go out and do that very thing that he has placed within you, that very thing that he has put within yourself to complete. What are you going to do with what God has already given you? What are you going to do? Are you going to sit and let it die? Or are you going to do something about it? Or are you going to step out on faith? Or are you going to be obedient? Or are you going to use what you got and allow God to do the rest? And that's all I have. Nothing more, nothing less. So what are you going to do? That's my question to you. Be blessed. Thank you.